all summit-related information by scanning the QR code provided on their delegate badges. We will now commence the session on product sustainability, a key to responsible business. As consumers adopt eco-conscious lifestyles, businesses must rethink product design, engineering, and life cycle to meet sustainability demands. The challenge is to maintain high performance while minimizing resource consumption. Today's session will focus on creating truly sustainable products with minimal environmental impact, economic viability, and social responsibility. Embracing transparency and environmental values will help companies build trust with conscious consumers. It is truly an honor and a privilege to extend my heartfelt welcome to the moderator and all the panel members of the session onto the dais. I request the moderator, Mr. Pankaj Satija, Executive in Charge FAMD, Tata Steel Mining Limited, to please take the lead and commence the discussion. I request all the esteemed speakers to again come onto the dais, please.
So good afternoon, everyone. We have a very knowledgeable speakers who will be enlightening you with their thoughts. And the way we have designed that, we'll be asking one question each to the panelists. And if time permits, we'll go to the second question. And then questions from audience. I can assure you that we'll be able to answer all your questions. For the question we know the answer will be short and brief. For the question when we don't know the answer will be long, so that you forget the question. Yeah. So sustainability is not new. We all know, we have been hearing about this word, Society of Jesuits, then Club of Rome in 1972, Stockholm Conference, then 87 Brundtland Commission. So nothing to add. But then long back when I read Atharvaved, there is a very famous Bhumi Sukta. And Bhumi Sukta is also known as Prithvi Sukta. So freedom fighters used to refer to it as Matri Bhumi Sukta, environmentalists refer to it as Bhumi Sukta or Prithvi Sukta. And there is a famous mantra that is Satyam Brihat, Ritam Ugram, Diksha, Tapo, Yagya, Prithim Dharyanti. What are the 6 behaviors one should have so that earth should sustain? So the first word is Satyam Brihat, the truth which is larger. Hindi में कहते हैं सार्वकालिक हो, सार्वभौमिक हो. In data centricity, we call the single version of truth. So the truth what a supervisor has should have the same truth which the CEO has. You should not have the different data for that. And in sustainability also, when the producer who is presenting or making a product, the truth what he is presenting and the truth what a consumer receives should be the same. So that is the concept of Rihat Satya. And the second one is Ritam Ugram. Ritam is order, cosmic order, and Ugram is stringent. So how you are following the law, and the law can be global law, international law, national law, and local law. And each are important, and that's why the concept of greenwashing, when we talk about that, how we are tightening or making the rules or laws so clear that there is no scope of misleading such information which may be detrimental to those who are using and may not be good for those who are producing. So I am restricting myself with these 2 important concepts, Satyam Brihat and Ritam Ugram. And why I have brought Ritam Ugram? Because Molly is coming from the same background. She is India Managing Director, ERM. And she is going to let us know what are the role of regulatory frameworks evolving in promoting sustainable business practices, what specific changes she believes are necessary for encouraging companies to adopt more sustainable product designs. So again, I would request Molly to enlighten us on the thought of local, national, and the concept of Ritamugram. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very nice to meet you all. Just a very quick introduction. I represent ERM in India. We are the world's largest pure-play sustainability consulting firm, present in 40 countries, been around for 50 years. We have a 30-year-long presence in India. And, we have a phrase in ERM which is technical capabilities are superpower. So from, marine and marine biologists and geologists for soil and groundwater quality to chemical and electrical engineers for steel and chloralkali decarbonization and everything in between. That is the profile of colleagues that we employ and then deploy on projects. Just wanted you to have that background. Of course, we've done a lot of work in the product sustainability and the product stewardship space, which is the topic of the panel today. And I wanted to share a few examples with you, and then we'll quickly come to answer the question. Satija sir, this is not a reflection of not knowing the answer to your question. It's just taking a little longer to get there. We've done a lot of work, as I said, in the space, and AstraZeneca, this is all in the public domain. So AstraZeneca received A- on their CDP report, and they've publicly acknowledged the work that we did for them. BP Castrol, we've done the carbon neutral product work for all of their engine oil business, and similarly Roche and many others that you will find. Now, coming to the question that Satija sir asked me, I think the major challenge we are facing right now is, one that I'm sure is not unknown to all of you, which is the lack of standardization in terms of the regulatory frameworks or the rating agencies. And what that does is that lack of standardization manifests in many ways at the product sustainability level. For example, there could be very, very sharp focus on product design, right? So you've heard of Nespresso's coffee modules that are supposed to be recyclable, right? Or an LED bulb that is very energy efficient. But when you think about the life cycle or the circularity of these projects, it's a completely different ballgame. It is not easy to recycle those bulbs. It is not easy to recycle those coffee pouches, right? And in certain geographies, that technology may not exist. So we have become too dependent on product design per se, and we are ignoring some of the other important aspects. What that is leading from is also the fact that we as sustainability leaders need to show immediate financial impact, right? And because of that, sometimes even the product innovation that we perform is at a level that is very, very short-term based. So, for example, a deodorant producer who wants to say, all right, my product is CFC-free, right, not harmful for the ozone layer. Have we thought about how that product will go into the landfill if it is majorly plastic-based? And if we're going to focus on short-term interventions, then what will happen to the investment that needs to go into long-term changes and gains there? So this is a superficial sort of product focus. The other challenge is that the current regulatory frameworks and rating frameworks do not take into account things like the social aspect. So all of us will rate, let's say, an EV automaker extremely high on sustainability. But are we considering the mining implications of lithium-ion batteries, right? Or are we considering even the broader social implications that come from the entire supply chain. Those today are not quantified and baked in to the product stewardship or the product related categories that are assessed or reported out in regulatory frameworks. So I think those are some of the big challenges that we are facing, because of which we are not able to sort of get in and really see investment dollars being diverted into spending on this. And then I think it's also the overall then final accountability, right? I mean, you've heard of sneakers that are made from plastic waste from the oceans, but so you can disclose that and you can get rated for it, but is anybody looking at the real share of product sold or the revenue that's coming from that one line of sneakers against the entire product line of that company? So that's a level of detail that we are required to go into.
Thank you, Molly. While you were speaking, I was looking at the audience, and I couldn't see anyone having Gautam Buddha moment. Eyes were awake. Thank you very much. You spoke on two aspects, supply chain and social aspect. So supply chain, we also feel that sometimes, there are regulations for a mine where the material is being extracted. There are regulations for plant, and how the material has to be received and how it has to be processed. But in between, the regulation is not there. So usually see truckers, they wash their truck somewhere in the nearby surface water bodies or a river. And who is accountable for that pollution? That's a question. So you rightly pointed out. Social aspect, we all know that how we have seen the changes and how we have seen the different equity in most of the mining areas, where still there are pockets of wealth surrounded by the poverty. And I recall that almost all the mining destination, there is one book or one article which has been written, Rich Land, Poor People. So if you Google it, you will find that same book is written in India also. So that is a universal problem. And I recall one of the couplet of मुनव्वर राना कि समाजी बेबसी ही मक्तल बनाती है, कहीं चंबल बनाती है, कहीं नक्सल बनाती है. So that is the root cause when we don't listen to the social aspect. So coming back to again the Atharved mantra, Satyam Brihat Ritam Ugram. The other two words are Diksha and Tapa. So Diksha is also taken in form of constant learning. So when we have gone for life cycle assessment, we have been moving from cradle to cradle, cradle to gate, and there are different aspects. So we have Dr. Rajesh Singh, and he has very experience right from plant. He was earlier in Steel Authority, and now he is the Managing Director of Sphera. Sir, so with your expertise at Sphera, could you discuss the significance of life cycle assessment in achieving product sustainability? How can companies effectively implement these assessments to ensure their products are genuinely sustainable from design to disposal? And what's your own takeaway on the life cycle assessment which you have done across different products?
Sure. So thank you, Mr. Satija, for asking this question, and thank you for CII for this opportunity and inviting me on this platform with such esteemed panel members as well as esteemed participants. So let me succinctly introduce myself. As from Sphera perspective, we are one of the largest leading ESG solution provider from the perspective of product and the corporate sustainability as well as databases. And we are a Blackstone portfolio company, and we've been working with most of the leading companies all across Indian companies for last 22 years. So again, I would like to simplify LCA. LCA is not a rocket science. LCA is life cycle assessment. It is all about environmental impacts. It is all about product. So if we want to understand the impact of a laptop or impact of a table or impact of a car or impact of a shirt, so what is the environmental impact? So that's environmental impact, product. It has got ISO standard, ISO 14040-44. It is based on the quantitative assessment. So you are evaluating the environmental impact not on rating or 1, 2, 3. It is the environmental impact in terms of product carbon footprint or water footprint or energy footprint. So it is all about product related. So, and it covers whole gamut of the life cycle, right from the raw material extraction to the manufacturing, to the distribution, to the end of life and use stages. So all the stages of product life cycle stages. It also covers all the environmental attributes, as I was telling, which has got environmental ramifications to air, water, land. So it means that carbon is a buzzword, but it covers all the environmental attribute. So you know there is also a trade-off. So trade-off can be happen between the raw materials to the manufacturing to the use. So you can find that impact in the raw material is very high, and maybe in the manufacturing stage the impact is very low. Some product has got very high environmental impact. Like if I use a car, the majority of the impact is in the use stage. When I drive a diesel or petrol driven car, maybe a car environmental footprint, a product carbon footprint could be 50 ton. If I am driving a SUV, and that's 50 ton, maybe 40 ton comes from the use stage if I operate it for 150,000 kilometer. And the raw materials and all the materials which goes into the car as a bill of material in the process, all the materials like steel, aluminum and copper and all the polymers and everything goes into the car, that may be a 5-6 ton only impact. But the major impact is in the use stage. So this is, and it's a globally accepted, widely accepted, and LCA has got maturity for last 20, 30 years. And all the, associations to the corporates, they have been driving. And why LCA is important? Because LCA is an underlying method. So you know the environmental footprint in a holistic manner. What is the environmental impact of a product? So it's not like greenwashing. It's not a misclaims. It is not like unsubstantiated or unfounded kind of thing. You are working on the facts and figures of the primary data and also secondary data, and based on that you are evaluating the entire life cycle in a transparent manner. So why company is using it, and why we've been in large demand, why companies are asking to do the carbon footprint? Because you need to know the scope 1, 2 and 3. So until and unless you embed sustainability in your product, then only your corporate or the company will become a sustainable. So it's important to know your product portfolio and what product is important for you. Maybe you are producing 10 types or 100,000 types of product. You need to understand which products are more important. You are producing shampoo to soap to cleaners to everything. But maybe your product must be having different profile, and some product has high impact, some product. So it's important to understand your product portfolio. Also, it's important to understand their life cycle stages. And once we know the product portfolio, then it's essential to understand what level we are. If I am a manufacturer or a brand of a company, like I'm wearing a shirt from some of the brand, and what is the footprint of my shirt? So maybe if you say this shirt is, maybe it will run for 52 washes. Maybe we will run for 2 years, so we will wear. And this could be 10 kg of CO2. I'm wearing a shoe, it could be 5 kg of CO2. And it's from the cradle to grave perspective, a whole gamut of life cycle. And 10 kg, if I say, then company wants to know where are the hot spots. So that's the company wants to see through the lens. And that lens says something, if it is made of organic cotton or BCI cotton or conventional cotton or polyester or mix or linen, we don't know. So if it is made of something, maybe 1 kg or 2 kg coming from that. I'm not talking about water footprint. So when we talk water footprint, maybe in the raw materials, water is very high. And maybe in the use stage when we do the washing. Maybe in the spinning, weaving, knitting, dyeing, finishing, garmenting, and then we have use. So we are using in our washing machine for maybe 52 washes. The impact could be 4 kg. And finally, it goes for end of life disposal. So how the life cycle stages. And then if we know that 10 kg is overall impact of my shirt, and then we have millions of shirts we are producing. So maybe so much million ton of CO2 is because of this, and we know the scope 1, 2, 3. We also know the tier 1, 2, 3, 4 suppliers in our stages, like dyeing, garment would be the tier 1. Then dyeing could be tier 2, and then spinning tier 3, and all the farmers who are producing cotton, they are tier 4. And then we ask companies how we decarbonize it, what would be the strategy. So that's the important thing. Can we change it by recycled cotton? Can we change it by recycled polyester? Can we have our spinning source electricity from renewables? Can we have waterless dyeing? So all those scenarios, depending on the technological availability, we run those scenarios on the product. And then so how the 10 kg of the carbon footprint can be brought down to 2 kg. So this could be the first step we help companies to do. So that's all about the target setting. That's all about understanding in the roadmap, identifying the projects and implementing it. So this is the way we start with. Sometimes we find that there are a lot of regulations are happening in that, like European Green Deal, and also the CBAM, the product carbon footprint, the customer's demand. So these are the regulations now asking for B2B or B2C also. B2C is now consumers are getting aware. Still, their conscious decisions are not based on that. But B2B, there has been. So if automotive companies wants to decarbonize, they will directly go to their steel supplier, they will go to their aluminum suppliers, they will go to those suppliers to them to decarbonize. Though the use stage in impact, electrification is there. By electrification, they can reduce the carbon footprint of, as Molsari was mentioning, if I am using an electric vehicle and still we are sourcing electricity from the grid, and that grid is based on the fossil, that the grid, the India and China and Australia and Indonesia, this country are having the grids based on the fossil fuel. And then the impacts are like diesel driven only. So that there also we will find the impact will be 50 ton only. And if we are able to, the electricity is drawn from the renewables for the charging, then maybe we can reduce the impact from 50 ton to 20 ton or maybe 15 ton. And then the materials are becoming important. Similarly for the housing also, if we want to do LCA, so maybe a house could be having 100 kg CO2 per meter square, and use stage could be 70-80 kg CO2 per meter square. And the materials like steel, concrete and all, they are difficult to decarbonize. So this is the way we understand the impact of a product. We understand how regulations are impacting, how consumers are influencing. Consumers are also demanding more and more, not for the eco-design purpose. And R&D, mostly for the innovation and the transformation, for the value creation within the organization. R&D is using it as a design for environment tool. Mostly in the automotive companies, in any companies, if you go and ask, they have a bill of materials, they have a process BOM of a product, and then they see, can I reduce the weight of my steel? Can I reduce, increase the recycled content in my product? Can we have something like bio-based feedstock, bio-based polymer? Can we have recycled polymer? So these are the things they apply and then evaluate what would be the overall impact. It doesn't mean that bio-based would be the best solution, because bio-based, again, it comes from the agricultural perspective. If producing a PLA or PBS and all this bio-based polymer, then you have a lot of impacts during the agricultural stages, maybe on the water side, maybe on the toxicity side. So there are trade-offs between the environmental impact and there are trade-offs between amongst the various life cycle stages. So this is the way we deep dive into that. There are branding also. Marketing used to brand it, that my product is cleaner. So until and unless you evaluate a product in a holistic manner, using a proper, credible, scientific background-based study, then only we know that this would be the impact. And then you can substantiate that this is the product and this is the innovation we have done on my product, and by that we have reduced. You can also compare with your peers by tear-down analysis, and you do a lot of things. I mean, companies internally also do a lot of things. If I have a car, maybe I will tear down my competitor car and then we do the study, which component is lighter weight, which component. So there are a lot of things confidentially also we are helping companies to drive and to become more sustainable product. And to define that sustainable product, it's not an easy task. That LCA helps them to quantify in a proper manner and to identify the incumbent stage and the differentiation stage. And then you can say that this portfolio, which are having less than so much of CO2, can be considered as a sustainable product. So there are many things, but I wanted to highlight on this aspect.
Thank you very much. The way you are explaining it was more like an educator, a professor, and that also shows that the subject how is close to your heart. I read also somewhere that a son is a son till he gets his wife, a daughter is a daughter throughout the life. There was other sentence which was written, a professor is a professor throughout the life. So thank you very much for elaborating. And you rightly said, I mean, different products. Water is also one of the area which is also getting prominence, particularly for country like India, where we export those products which are water intensive, maybe rice, maybe sugar cane. And in steel also, wire rod is one such product where the water footprint is very high, and life cycle assessment also shows that way. So when I was reading on water, it reminds me one of the famous quote of Kabir, कि कबीरा कुआं एक है पानी भरे अनेक, भांडे में ही भेद है पानी सब में एक. So he used water as a metaphor that everyone is equal. But if you see at the ground, the rich and the influential, they have the water supply. And the poor still they struggle to get the water through bucket. Someday the tanker will come and they will get the water in their bucket. And for the gender also, it's other way around. So usually women in western part of India travels 2.5 kilometers to get water. And if there are certain guests in the house, then the daughter also has to drop out the school. So this is one area where I know LCA is going to get more prominence in coming days. And you will be surprised to know that in Middle East, there is a company who supplies milk to many parts of the world. And you are aware that Middle East doesn't have the grassland. So they get the fodder from Argentina. So they are not getting fodder, but actually they are getting water. So India is also trying to see how they are going to export products. And this was very much popularized by Allen and virtual water concept. So thank you very much for bringing those points. We have now Mr. Kiran Gopale, ACM Head of Sustainability, Godrej Interior. So when I was looking at your product, I think that product, when you started, probably it was not having that much certification which others had, or maybe not much competitor you other had. So again, हम सफ़र चाहिए हुजूम नहीं, एक मुसाफिर ही काफिला है मुझे. So my question to you is how you have decided or thought of enhancing the green quotient of your product?
Yeah, good afternoon all, and thank you, Mr. Pankaj Satija. So I'm honored to be part of this panel discussion where we are discussing about the product sustainability, which is the increasing critical for the business today. So for us, the product sustainability is something represent the paradigm shift in how we design, produce and consume the product, how we deliver the value to the people and the planet. So on this thought, I represent the company where green and sustainability is something built in our DNA by day one by our founders. I'm from the furniture, represents the Godrej Interior division, where we are into furniture business, premium furniture business on institutional as well as the home furniture. So we have a life cycle approach for our entire supply chain, while starting from the material to manufacturing, to packaging, and till the end of life, including the use phase. However, for product sustainability, way back in 2013, we did one research study with Rachna Sansad Institute, and where we came to the very interesting fact that the outside pollution, the inside pollution will be 3 to 4 times more than the outside pollution. And we did that study with the Rachna Sansad to know the exact contribution by the furniture, as we are into furniture. And we came to the fact that because of the various VOC emissions available in the indoor atmosphere, because of the furniture part, because of the carpets, because of the curtains, because of the solvents which we are using, the furniture contribution is around 21%, and which is very huge. And we came to the fact that key paints are also going for the low VOC, that marbles and carpets are also going for the low VOC. So overall VOC relative contribution by the furniture products is relatively increasing. And then we shift our focus to work on the VOC emissions of the furniture to increase the green quotient of the product. So what we did, that 21% is huge. So first we see that the furniture main is the particle board. So we have shifted our all B2B product on the E1 board, which is having the lowest VOC emission than the E2, 60% low VOC emission than the E2 board or any conventional board available in the market. So that is our first step to lower the VOC emission as a furniture business. The second step which we are doing is, any furniture industry, the gluing is the main process. And in gluing, we have shifted entire our operation from hot melt glue to water-based glue. That water-based glue is having zero VOC emission in the use phase. The third and the major impact, the process change which we have the latest powder coating technology at our Khalapur location, which is in the Maharashtra, with a zirconium base, which is having the zero VOC emission in use phase and lowest sludge generation during the powder coating process to minimize the hazardous waste also. So because of these three initiatives, we have significantly reduced the VOC emissions of our products, and because of which our products are matching the international and national standards of furniture sustainability. I'm proud to say that we are having 140 plus products which is certified with the Green Pro certification. We are having the 240 plus products under Green Portfolio, which is more than any competitors currently available in the furniture market. So that's how we have increasing the green quotient of the product. Talking about the life cycle approach of the product at the design stage itself, we are having the DFE policy, Design for Environment policy, where at the design stage itself, we implement the LCA, we see what is the environment impact of the material which we are using, and thanks to Spera, we are using this LCA tool since decades, and we are working on that to how we can reduce the environment footprint of the product, or how we can increasing the green quotient of the product. While selection of the material also, we are selecting which material is having the highest recyclability. Maximum of our B2B products having more than 85% of recyclability that we are claiming. We are the first industry who is having this 2 international and 3 Indian certificates certified for our products. So that's how, because of the various initiatives which we have implemented at manufacturing, at design stage, and at product level itself, we are increasing the green quotient of the product at much extent where we are much ahead of the competitor, and we are leading in this furniture industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, whenever I hear about ESG and other things, it reminds me a common story which we hear in our, society, that someone is not taking care of parents. So the nearby people, uncle or auntie, goes and tells, see, they are your parent, you should take care of them. If you don't take care of them, the house where you are staying may not go to you. They may give it to someone else. So if you want to get that house, please take care of your parents. So today's time also, if you see ESG and other sustainability, it's like that. If you don't take care of Mother Earth, I will not invest in your company. It's almost like a similar line. So as Molly was mentioning that the regulatory compliance and regulatory framework, we always have a tendency how to tweak the law, how to deviate the law. But it requires more moral and ethical aspect when you are going for the protection, and you nicely pointed out. So we have Mr. Varun Chopra. He is a बहुत खुशमिजाज आदमी है ये, मतलब मैं इनसे भी मिला, और इनके पास भी वो जैसा Dr. Rajesh Singh has, he is also doing his PhD. So when I was mentioning the first mantra of Atharved, Satyam Brihad, Ritam Ugram Diksha Tapa Brahma Yagya Prithvindhari. So he also have a constant learning, and he is working on material handling equipment. So your question is, based on your experience, could you provide specific examples of how you have redesigned material handling equipment to achieve product sustainability? What significant challenge do you foresee in the shift from diesel-powered MHE to lithium-ion alternatives? And additionally, how do these changes align with ESG principle, net zero goals, and decarbonization efforts? Before you start, I will give you one more background for the audience also. So you all have heard about Vishkarma, Lord Vishkarma. We have 17th September, eastern part of the country, it is celebrated in a very big way. We worship our machines. Vishkarma Puja, yeah. So Vishkarma has a daughter called Sanjana, and she was married to Suryadev. So once Vishkarma ji asked Sanjana how your married life is going. And she replied that I am married to someone who is so bright, so luminous, I can't sit beside him. You do something, you are my father. So he reduced the brilliance of sun by 1/8 or 1/10 and created many weapons. Sudarshan Chakra, Trishul. And if you see all the scriptures in Indian society where the good is winning over the evil, is either Bhagavan Shankar using his Trishul or Bhagavan Vishnu using his Sudarshan Chakra. So again, it came from sun. And your lithium ion also is again on, you are drawing power from the solar system. So how do you see that? Who will come to your rescue?
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. And first, let me thank Pankaj firstly for words that I probably don't deserve, but more importantly for making this session extremely engaging for all of us. Sharing these anecdotes. I think it makes it for a very interesting session, particularly since we're in a post-launch scenario. So first, let me just take a step back. I represent Gear. We are a private equity-funded material handling equipment company, more commonly known as forklifts. So any product movement, raw material or finished goods, needs a material handling equipment. So be it in a factory or in a warehouse, and that's where we play a small role. Now, when you look at sustainability within the MHE part, and maybe just before I get there, just one probably corollary to set the context, 60% of carbon emissions come from the supply chain. And within the supply chain, the MHEs form one part of it. Now, sustainability in MHE revolves around three axes, if I may. The first is when you look at the government investment, right? So last year, in fact, Honorable Finance Minister has announced in financial year 23-24, 35,000 crores for net zero. We're all aware that our net zero target is 2070. So the government is putting money where its mouth is. It's not just saying, hey guys, go and do net zero. They're putting in meaningful money, which is 35,000 crores to start off with. Yesterday, of course, we had the privilege to hear from Honorable Minister Bhupendraji on what they're doing from an ESG environmental point of view. The second axis is the regulator. And I think we all would know that once the regulator starts taking a more active part, you do get a lot more of compliance, because otherwise you go out of compliance. So the second axis is what SEBI is doing, be it with respect to BRSR. And in fact, last year, they've announced top 150 companies by market capitalization to disclose their value chain emissions by scope. And this is a step clearly in the right direction. These 150 companies are estimated, the numbers are estimated to increase to 1,000 companies by financial year 26-27. So you also see the regulator who's contributing from their point of view, from a compliance point of view. And now I think the third part of the axis, which is, I think, a lot of people out here, my colleagues, as well as esteemed panelists play a critical role in, is we as customers, right? As users, as manufacturers, as value chain partners. And my submission is the key third point is unit economics. You can have great regulation, you can have government encouraging us, but till the unit economics work, you will not have technology scale up. And that, Pankaj, is also where lithium-ion plays a role, right? So in the last 10 years, if you look at the prices of lithium-ion, they've dropped by 90%, 90. And that's resulted in an inflection point. We're seeing that in the EV space. We're also seeing that on the material handling equipment space. We as Gear have the privilege of deploying about 1,000 units of lithium-ion. And please bear in mind, we had deployed 0 units 3.5 years back. So that's the kind of explosion that we are talking about. And when we talk about unit economics, my submission to all of you is we've got to change the dialogue from cost of acquisition of an asset to total cost of ownership. It is the TCO that plays a critical role. And when you look at the unit economics of doing TCO on a lithium-ion MHE is where you start saving money. If you're doing OPEX or CAPEX, I'll give you a very small example. If you look at a diesel asset, a 3-ton forklift consumes about 2.5 liters of diesel per hour, which is 250 rupees per hour, 3-shift operation, that's 6,000 rupees a day. 30-day operation, that's 1.8 lakh rupees a month. You can hire a lithium-ion asset for about 2.5 lakh rupees. And not only do you eliminate the 1.8 lakhs cost, for those of you who are in this room also know that when we deal with diesel, there's also about a bit of diesel theft, right? So that gets eliminated as well. The same comparison is for a lead acid asset. A lithium-ion battery consumes 30% less power versus a lead acid battery. Now, typically that cost is hidden in your factory overheads because you don't typically have a separate meter for your lead acid battery charging. So that is where there's a significant cost. A lithium-ion battery takes 2 hours to charge for an 8-hour shift versus 8 hours for a lead acid battery. That's the second aspect of cost that you save. You don't need to have an additional battery, so there's additional cost. So I think the key point, which I would like to emphasize on is the third part of the axis, it's the unit economics. We've got the government supporting us, we've got regulators, and now it's incumbent, it's actually the imperative is on us to really take this forward. I'll probably talk about ESG maybe as a follow-up thing, Pankaj, because I think I've spoken enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So by this time, you must have noticed that we all are member of MAC. MAC is Mutually Admiration Club. So each member praises the other member, and that we have been doing so far. So each one is complimenting or saying, so thanks for complimenting me. Usually in MAC, there is a possibility someone going into Amitabh Bachchan mode, asking before Mosi about Dharmendra. So that had not happened. So I'm thankful to all of you. We have time of 20 minutes more, so I will ask from you only regarding the second part that what are the indicators you feel that will be more suitable for assessing ESG? You spoke about TCO and supply chain, point well taken, and this was the common point for Molly also, and but the metrics part, because there are 36 such names. Corporate Sustainability Report, Global Citizens Report, and usually people get confused, what is the correct ESG report? So BRSR has come, and many people also talk, this ESG is different than sustainability. Sustainability is a very broader term. ESG, the metrics are very sharp. So the new world is ESG, but if you see the name of the report, it is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting. So many a time people get confused. And more importantly, from a consumer point of view, if a consumer wants to know that, which product I should buy or which company is more ESG compliant, how he will, judge. And way forward, maybe in coming 5 to 10 years when we have more awareness, maybe an employee graduating from a college will also decide that this company is more ESG compliant, so I want to work in this company. So where do you see the ESG metrics going forward?
Sure. So firstly, Pankaj, let me confess, I have a limited understanding on this point, so I'll make a few quick points. I did just speak on the E part, which is the environmental part. From an S and G part, when you look at a supply chain point of view, the S part, which is on the social part, when you look at the supply chain industry, apologies for being a little politically incorrect, it tends to be very male-dominated. Right? And within that, if you look at MHE, it's totally males. And what we've tried to do in a very small way as Gear, we are actually training women forklift operators. And I've got women forklift operators in places like Jharsuguda, at Vedanta. We are the first company in the state of Chhattisgarh to employ transgenders at Korba. And please, this is not a tick box for me, right? We're doing this because it makes sound business sense. My firm belief is if you give these all different strata of society the opportunity to prove themselves, they will really shine. On a lighter note, when I operate women forklift operators, they don't come drunk to work, they don't chew gutka, they're a lot more disciplined, and I see them really hungry to perform. So I think from a social point of view, I think, Pankajji, we've got to change again the dialogue from maybe just diversity to equity, right? 50% of our population is women. So how does it qualify as diversity? It's just the right thing to do. So that's the social part. From a governance point of view, I think it's about HR compliance. Folks like me who work in the blue-collar industry, minimum wages vary by state in our country, and they typically get updated twice a year. You not only need to update your minimum wages, you need to also file for HR compliances, which is typically before the 15th of every month. We, in our own small way, attempt to pay higher than minimum wage because, again, I expect my operators, I've got 900 operators, I keep them on my rolls, I do not outsource them, to ensure that they operate the assets as if they are own. And that's why from a governance point of view, we not only just do the compliance bit, we also like to do the right thing from a spirit point of view, which is pay higher than minimum wage. So this in a small way is what we've been doing. Again, I think there are people who can contribute much more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'll come to you, Molly, later on. So married men can concur that who speaks last at home. So I am keeping this towards the end. I'll come to Kiran. Kiran, in your opinion, what are the key indicators you use to assess that?
Right. So at Godrej, we are having good and green approach. And that good and green approach, we are having 4 pillars basically. The first pillar is about good and green product, which talks about conservation of natural resources and increasing the green quotient of the product. And under that pillar, we have the KPO that to achieve the 50% of our revenue by selling the green product only for entire GNB, that is Godrej and Bias. The second pillar is about Greener India pillar, and where we are talking about the environmental performance, where we have set the target as a KPO, like we are having what we need to achieve by 2032, very aggressive target in terms of EP100, that 135% EP100 performance, reducing the hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste, having the water positive and all that things. And the last pillar, 2 pillars talking about the employability and community development, which is talking about the CSR. So to achieve, to address for the 2 pillars, Greener India and good and green products, for this KPO, we are having multiple KPIs in place. Like for example, we are having environmental KPIs, like we are, to assess the performance, we are monitoring the carbon footprint reduction by doing the LCA of our products. We are calculating the waste reduction while, during the manufacturing. We are monitoring the percentage of material recycle and recycled content. So we are having, with our each product, we are giving one sheet which is called the Kundali of that product, which clearly declare what is the recyclability of the percentage of that product, what is the recycled content in that product. So that's how we have assessed in terms of environmental. We are also having to assess, we are also having the product point of view, like how many number of products we are certified as a green products, how many products having that BIFMA level certification. Likewise, in terms of social, we are having how many suppliers having the code of compliance with the code of conducts. We have, surprisingly, we have taken a target for our suppliers also, ki 80% buy value of our supplier should be on the green co journey. And we are very focusing to our entire supply chain to get on that green co journey, so that overall on the product as well as the environment having that impact. So other components of social, we are having that employee training and engagement, in terms of customer satisfaction, then diversity and inclusion. So this is how we are having the multiple parameters to achieve that KPO which we have set as per our good and green approach, in terms of environment, in terms of social, in terms of economical, in terms of product as well. And to support that, we are having the multiple reporting frameworks also for at the company group level as well as the division level. Like we are having our own sustainability report for our division. We are having the CDP reporting. We are having the EcoVadis reporting. So that's how we are assessing the performance with the various metrics.
Thank you. Rajesh sir, usually when LCA name comes, the second word comes to Gavi software. People recall. And technology has its own role. And we all know that technology is not consistent, it disrupts. So there's a very famous couplet of Ahmad Faraz कि तू अपनी शीशागरी का हुनर मत कर जाया, मैं आईना हूँ मुझे टूटने की आदत. So in your assessment, how the technology is taking shape, how many have been obsolete, how many you see in the horizon coming to help us in LCA?
No, that's a very great question. When we talk about LCA, we need to churn a lot of data. So data is something like within the plant, gate to gate, and also upstream, downstream, end of life. So whole life cycle stages and your product. If I have to do LCA of a car, you have a BOM. BOM is known as a bill of materials, and it runs into 25,000 lines. So part, subpart, component, and it goes to the maybe 6-7 layers of data. And then, and data is in terms of the weight, and data in terms of material, what type of material it is, and how it is manufactured, how it is sourced, what is the distance, and within the manufacturing processes also. Let's say we are producing a steel, and then you have a lot of processes within your plant. Coke ovens, blast furnace, pellet plant, sinter plant, converter, and downstream, lot of processes. And if you see within the processes also a lot of data. And LCA is all about the input and output. When what resources we consume, what emissions we make, what effluent we generate, and what waste we generate, and what energy carriers we use, and what has got its impact on the environment. So if we consume resources, it is resource scarcity. If it is fuel combustion, it causes carbon footprint. If we consume water, then it causes water footprint. If it is emitting something, it goes to the human toxicity or water toxicity. So it means you have to collect a lot of data. And I recall 25 years ago, then when we were doing the first LCA in the country for a steel company, SAIL and Tata Steel were participating project on behalf of Ministry of Environment and Forest. It took 2 years to conduct a LCA of a steel product. Almost 2 years. And we were collecting data, so you need various functions to get involved into that. And various functions is your procurement team, your designer team, your manufacturing, your unit operations, your utilities, your R&D team, your marketing team, your R&D, and also how end-of-life systems goes. So involving all the functions, involving all the data for annual consumptions and annual this thing, and process and product BOM, it was very, very difficult to handle. And our garbage software, which is now after CII acquisition, it has renamed as LCA for experts. And this is almost 30 years software. It has gone through the maturity. And we've been also applying a lot of databases. We started with, I would say, Excel. Those days, Excel was not there. So we were using Lotus Notes. And then gradually Excel came, and then we were using a lot of calculations on Excel, and then applying the emission factors and characterization factors, and then it goes into the tool, and it runs for hours and hours, then we generate the results. And subsequently then software gets maturity and all. And then it's not only the software, it's the data lying in your company. Data is lying into various legacy software systems. Somewhere PLM is there, somewhere SAP systems are there, somewhere some other systems are there, and you have to acquire the data. And it's not the same data you need. You need daily data aggregated to monthly, monthly data aggregated to the quarterly, and quarterly to annual, and then you have reconciliation also. Then a lot of complexities also inbuilt, whether it's content, water content, moisture content, no moisture content, carbon content, no carbon. So all those implications, and then you get normalized actually data, and how you integrate those data from your PLM systems to coming into your automation. So we built a lot of LCA automation tools now. So now we are able to, if I have been given a LCA, doing a LCA of a car or maybe a refrigerator, Kiran can do it in a week time. He has a bill of materials and treat these bill materials. Some cleaning is required, some processes are required, which they have already done, mapping is required. He has to just upload it, all the model is ready, results he has to just click it, and then he starts. So 5-6 days of effort, he can do LCA. We can also do LCA of 20,000 of products within 1 month of time. Now using the LCA automation tool we are doing for large chemical companies also. We have a calculator wherein you have a back-end model in place, which takes care of whole gamut of model and a whole gamut of processes, all material selections or process selections, all futuristic situations. We were doing LCA for a tire company, Apollo Tires, and they wanted to do LCA of a tire product manufactured in Chennai or manufactured in Mysore or in Baroda or in Netherlands. And if tire goes into the electric vehicle, and if tire goes into the diesel-driven vehicle, and if tire is used in European Union, if tire is used in India, and if tire has got so much of rolling resistance. So it was a very complex model we built with the company when we do the kind of eco-design workshop, and then holistic model built, and then you don't need to know the LCA knowledge. You have to just drop down and apply that. This is that size, this is the weight, this is the composition, this is the formulation, this is the plant side, this is the life of the tire, this is the recycling pyrolysis operation will be done 50% time. Maybe tire will go to some tire crumb operations, so we will take some credit. So those all things built into that, and you generate the results. And so like that, we do a lot of automation on that.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rajesh. The last question to Molly. Where do you see consumer education going forward, and what are the background work needed for that?
Thank you, and I think we are implementation partners for Sphera. So while Rajesh ji explained it beautifully, I think there is a lot before and after also that I think they can help with, and it just becomes a beautiful solution. So I just wanted to call that out. Thank you. Coming to your question, sir, so I think I'd frame my answer to include consumer awareness, but also speak about let's say investors or regulators, because I think all of the entire stakeholder community needs to play a role in order to make sure that products that are sustainable are either competitive with non-sustainable products, so it becomes a relatively easier choice for the consumer, or we are able to actually create sort of a premium on those green products for companies to be able to plow that back into their into the implementation of the decarbonization or the greening, right? So it's an entire universe of stakeholders that need to be made aware of these possibilities. Only then will product stewardship really, or product sustainability really become mainstream. And that is where a lot of our work is focused on, making sure that as you implement various aspects of decarbonization, the savings that you generate are able to support any additional investment that is required to either retrofit your current equipment to make it more energy efficient, or savings from alternate raw materials or raw material mixes, or vendor consolidation to achieve economies of scale for green raw materials. There are various levers that one can pull. Now, from an awareness perspective, I think, one is the role of, like I said, the regulators. So, for example, many of you may have heard the UK has a US plastic packaging tax. What that does is it creates a price differential between sustainable and non-sustainable packaged products. So that immediately gives the sustainably packaged product an edge in terms of consumer perception. The other very important thing here is the role of sustainability-linked lending and bonds. Again, this is not new to India. 2 years ago, a heavy industry like JSW Steel raised funding through this. Recently, Ultratech raised funding through this medium. And all of these are, the terms or the interest rates or the cost of capital is dependent on meeting certain sustainability-linked goals, right? And today we don't have one or a framework that supports sustainability at the product level. So having loans and bonds where the lower cost of capital harbors on a lower product carbon footprint, for example, is an important change that is required. So I think that's at the broader regulatory level, and then as companies ourselves, what can we do? So whether it's the green labeling that that my fellow panelist mentioned, Kiranji mentioned, or it's even the marketing, right? So if you recall, a few years ago, Patagonia had started selling their jackets and they said, don't buy this jacket, right? And it could be counterintuitive to say, why are you asking us to not buy your product? But the whole point was they wanted to align consumers that have a similar value set as theirs to say, let's not consume more than is required. So all of that, taking those marketing, and then finally the point I was making earlier, which is around the regulatory disclosures, regulatory, non-regulatory disclosures, and ESG ratings. They bringing about a product level disclosure. For example, in CBAM, we've seen that you need a product level carbon footprint to be disclosed, not at a company level. I think those changes are required for awareness to be better.
थैंक यू मौली सो देवियों और सज्जनों मेरा समय समाप्त हुआ आई एम डन विथ माई KBC क्वेश्चंस इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन टू आस्क विल टेक 1 or 2 minutes else you can have questions outside this program also थैंक यू सबको सब समझ में आ गया है सो देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we end this session. Our sincere gratitude goes out to our distinguished panel members and moderator for making this an extremely insightful discussion. I kindly request all our speakers to gather for a group photograph. As we conclude this session, we encourage you to stay engaged for our next discussion on trailblazers in sustainability. The next session is going to happen in Sovereign Hall 2 here itself. So would request everybody to remain seated, please.